Hey everybody, back again with another quick how-to video. Today we're going to be going over watering your plants. So in our last video I teased a little bit about not using tap water, which is absolutely true. If you're just using your tap water to water your plants, there's a very good chance your plants are not getting the nutrients that they need. So one of the first steps when you first start off growing that you're going to have to learn is to properly pH balance your water. Now the pH scale, as we all learned in grade school, it is based on your basic or alkaline liquid. So you need to pH your water. Now your plants, as a very average basic range, do prefer a pH of 5.5 to 6.5. So as you see, your plants do prefer them on the more acidic side. The reason that your plants prefer it on the more acidic side is that's actually the pH level that they're capable of taking up all the nutrients that they need. So one of the first steps you'll do whenever you are watering your plants is, now this is going to vary depending on if you're adding nutrients or not, but for this conversation we're talking about just watering. You'll obviously fill up your container of water. Can definitely be out of the tap. You can use bottled water. RO water would probably be your best. That way you can actually don't worry about pHing. You can just add that straight in. But if you are getting water out of your tap, what you're going to need to do is test it. So on your screen is a very basic pH kit that you can pick up like at your Walmart. I happen to pick mine up at my local PetSmart right down the road from me in their aquarium section. So you're going to want to test your water with the test dropper, and you're going to want to adjust accordingly. In my house, my tap water does come out at about an 8, so I do have a tendency to use quite a bit more of my pH down than the pH up. So once you get it adjusted between your 5.5 and 6.5, it does come with a little color code plus a little pamphlet that also breaks down the nutrient breakdown at the pH level. Once you get your water pH'd, go ahead and you start watering your plants. Now, if you are adding nutrients, 90% of your bottle nutrients would be considered synthetic, which means they're heavy in salts. For example, we'll reference the Fox Farm line, which is a great line for all starting your first time growing. So the part A and part B of the Fox Farm line, when you add these into your mix, you will add that into your water first. Now, based on the ratios, you're going to want to usually go about half or quarter doses. You're going to want to pH your water after you add your nutrients. That is the most important part. Because most of these synthetics are high in salt, they will actually drop the pH. They're slightly acidic, so they will drop the pH level of your water. So you're definitely going to want to do your pH check at the end if you are adding nutrients. In our next video, we will go over how to add nutrients in the proper ratios and also depending on the growing stage that you are currently in. So when it comes down to pHing and checking your pH, again, these are the very basic tools that you can start with. There are a couple more options that are available to refine and get a little bit more detailed in your feedings. Both of the meters that I'm referring to, you'll see here, they range about $20 each. Now, these are not required items for growing, but they will definitely help you keep a little bit better control over the feeding of your plants and what your plants are actually receiving. So the yellow one is a digital pH meter. It gets very detailed down into plus or minus a substantially small amount. Forgive me, I do not have the information in front of me. Also, please forgive my handy camera work, as I am not a cameraman. I'm here to just try and spread some information and hopefully inspire everyone to grow their own medicinal plants. The TDS and EC meter, that is going to be a little bit more advanced. That's going to go into your electric conductivity as well as your parts per million and your total dissolved solvents. Little advanced, we're not going to go into that now. However, the parts per million reading portion on there would be a very good device to use when you are doing your mixtures of nutrients, so you can actually see how much solution is in the water itself. There is a balance of too much versus too little. And again, we're going to go over all of this in a later video focusing on the nutrients. Again, these two devices, about $20 on Amazon, not required. However, as you advance in your growing, you'll definitely want to give yourself some more options and maybe a little bit more control. However, to start off with, this little starter kit from your local store is definitely all you need to get going. Now, the more advanced you get in your grow, there's also going to be some times when you are not required to pH balance your water. And that's really going to boil down to the medium that you are growing in. In our last video, we went over the Fox Farm Ocean Forest line, and as well as the Happy Frog soils. And if you are going to be using the Fox Farm for your vegetative stage, again, there's going to be variables to this as well as your environments. However, most of the time, the nutrients and the bacterial life in that soil will carry you through your vegetative stage. So I myself, I genuinely only give my plants water most of the time throughout the vegetative stage. The main difference between what we had previously talked about is you do need to aerate your water. The purpose of aerating the water has a couple main reasons. The number one factor is when you aerate your water, literally, these are just air lines with some very cheap air stones at the bottom of a bucket. It's going to go ahead and dissolve out all of the chlorine that is in all of our tap water. And the reason is the chlorine will have a tendency to kill off most of the bacteria and microbiology you have built up in your soil up until that point. So it is very important that you do aerate your water for at least 24 hours before you go ahead and give it to your plants. After the 24 hours is also when if you are going to add any teas or sugars or any sort of nutrients to your grow, that is when you're going to want to add these in after it has been aerated for 24 hours. After you do this, you don't necessarily have to pH your water. Some items you see on the screen here. Again, none of these items are required. However, these are quality of life items. I will go over the lemon juice here in a moment, as well as the little silver pack from Teaco, their Super Tea Blend. Again, these are a little bit more advanced tactics for some things. All of these are very much quality of life purchases. So first, you're definitely going to want to get yourself a watering can. What you see in the back, the black watering can is a very cheap one. I do believe that was from my local big box store. The water spray pump is going to be something a little bit more down the road. You have substantially more control over how much and where specifically you are watering for if you are doing root training, trying to stretch your roots out, you can actually specifically water just outside of where they are reaching. So it does give you a little bit more precision. The lemon juice and the Teco Super Tea Blend. I do find myself on occasion, because my tap water does come out at about an 8, finding myself still sometimes having to pH down my water. Now, if you use the pH down from your local kit, that will kill off the bacteria because of the acid that they use to lower the pH. I have seen good results in using the lemon juice. This is just normal store-bought lemon juice that is very acidic, will definitely lower the pH. A little bit goes a long way. The Super Tea Blend, that is a inoculant for all of the fungal microbiology that you are building up down in your soil. So at that point, you are only feeding them. They are feeding your plant, you are feeding them. The mixer beater paddle, that was definitely a lifesaver for a long time. I was mixing nutrients in a bucket with a spoon by hand. That's a roughly $10 to $15 mixer paddle that fits into pretty much any drill. You'll definitely want to get a little spray bottle for spraying the topical of your plants. When you do that, just something to keep in mind, you definitely do not want to do that in the middle of your light cycle. Now, there's going to be some variables to this depending on how far away and how intense your light is. However, a good rule of thumb is you're going to want to spray your plants just with your water, whether it is pH balanced water or your aerated water. You'll just want to give them some sprays right before or right as your lights are turning off, and about 15 to 20 minutes before your lights turn back on if you are capable of. Obviously, that's not always the case. I run my lights around my schedule. So normally I can't really get back into it until the lights are fully on and back and going. So again, everything you see on the screen, none of these items are required to grow your own plants. These are just things you will find yourself down the road wanting. And they are good investments. They will definitely make your grows much easier. So hopefully you guys have learned a little bit of the basics on getting going. It is not as simple as grabbing tap water. There is a little bit of magic you have to work. And a little bit of investment, you will see substantial results. Again, the main reason is all of these nutrients cannot be taken in by the plants until they're in the proper pH level. Well, thank you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, do all of the great stuff that YouTube wants you to do. I'm still going on our autoflower series, so check that out on the other channel. We're about to release the week 3. We are doing it from seed. We are logging every bit of the grow. I do also have substantially better photos and short clips of videos over on our Instagram page, as well as a little bit of time lapse to show everything pretty much from seed all the way to finish. So again, guys, if you like what you see, you know what to do. Stay tuned for our next video. We're going to go over the nutrients, the mixing, how to properly do it, and store it. So stay tuned and watch how we grow.